So part of me wants to call this one of the most anticipated video games of all time. But the problem with doing that is I don't think anybody really anticipated it because I think everyone had given up that something like this would ever come out. I mean, I think if Age of Empires 3 came out in what, 2006, 7, 8? Sometime in the late 2000s. It's been well over a decade since the last Age of Empires game came out. And on top of that, we had like them keep releasing new expansions on Steam, the new remake, the remastered versions. They kind of kept evergreening the existing content. I think they made some shitty mobile game or something, but no one thought that they were ever actually going to make a full blown new Age of Empires game. So when they announced it, I wasn't really sure what to think. I was like, I don't know. I don't have high hopes. Maybe it'll be okay, I guess. 2 and 3 are pretty different. So I was like, is it going to be more like 2 because people like 2 more? Or is it going to be more like 3 because 3 was newer and arguably simplified compared to 2? And I wasn't really sure where they were going to go with this. But I figured I might as well play the game because it's Age of Empires. I have a lot of fun memories playing Age of Empires 2 as a kid. Now, I don't play online or really multiplayer unless it's co-op. I'm just interested in the skirmish and the campaigns. And I'm sure most of you who have played the original Age of Empires 2 campaigns have lots of fond memories of all the just the campy stories, the bad accents, the let me tell you the tale of Frederick Barbarossa, or El Cid's wife, or I think, or the Mongol campaign was probably the funniest. We die for Genghis Khan, or those cataphracts pack quite a punch. Better to shoot arrows from afar, or just all that kind of camp. And then they had the Conquerors, and you had like the Attila the Hun campaign and El Cid, and there was a lot of good campaigns, and there was a lot of fun and a lot of cheese. And then I've been starting to play the 3 campaign, and it's kind of like a watered down version of that without any of like the really good stuff. So I'm like, what are they going to do? Are we going to get cheesy campaigns again, or like what is it going to be? So this came out. I played it release date. It was a disaster. I sucked really bad at it. I got my ass kicked on the second mission. I said it looked horrible. It ran like shit. I think they patched it, so it is running a lot better now. Now, I'm going to say I had a feeling when I was playing this that it was just randomly that one mission that I was having trouble with because it was like a tutorial level. And they had just disabled a lot of like major gameplay features for just that level. And it was just kind of this weird combination of hard and easy factors that made me screw up on it. So I have gone through and I have beaten the entire game with the exception of one mission on normal. The only mission I did not beat on normal is the Combat of the 30 because it's very different from a normal mission, and I just got irritated with trying to play it. But yeah, I beat all the campaigns. I went through the entire game. I played Skirmish a couple times. I'm not going to play multiplayer because I don't really like playing multiplayer. But let's just talk about the campaigns. So when it was announced, it said there was going to be 4 campaigns: the Norman Conquest, the 100 Years' War, the Mongol Empire, and the Rise of Moscow. So immediately, I was the most interested in the Rise of Moscow because it's a time period I don't think we've covered even in the expansions, or some of the expansions. I don't think it was covered in either Conquerors or the original campaign. So I was excited about that. The Normans, I was like, okay, I don't think we had an English campaign before, so that's cool. It's probably going to cover some of the same ground as some of the previous stuff, but hey, I'll take it. It sounds interesting. And then I was like, 100 Years' War, it's just going to be the Joan of Arc campaign all over again. And to a certain extent it is, but we'll get to that. And then there's the Mongol Empire, and once again I was like, they're just going to do the exact same campaign all over again that they did in Age of Empires 2. So I was just like, it's kind of uninspired. I guess we got like one good, one kind of completely innovative campaign. To be fair to the original, they covered some stuff that's like they covered Frederick Barbarossa and like the Holy Roman Empire in his war against the Lombard League, which is a little bit beyond what like some really basic tier history games I think would really cover. So I'll give them credit for that. But yeah, so we had the campaign. So let me just talk about the campaigns. So the Norman campaign is not just the Normans. It's the, I guess, the House of Normandy and the Angevins, however you pronounce it. So it covers Hastings to the Siege of Lincoln with the end of the Barons' War. With William the Marshal, I think his name was. So I think the idea here is it's the time period where England was basically a subordinate province to Normandy, and where the major portion of I don't know what if you want to call it, the Angevin or Norman Empire's territory and population was on mainland France, and England was kind of an afterthought to a certain extent. So this covers William's conquest, the harrying of the North, the Norman Civil War. Then it covers the anarchy, which is cool. I mean, I'll give them credit. They at least covered a couple different eras. Oh, that's cool. It even says like the parts. So like possession. Then we have the anarchy. So I mean, that's kind of cool. We got to do some missions for that. And then we have the Barons' War with King John and losing everything. There's a pretty good mixture of mission types in this. There's some siege. There's quite a few defense missions. I'll get into gameplay in a minute. The defense missions should be fun. Like, it should be fun defending Dover Castle. But as with kind of Age of Empires 3, walls are just shit in this game, and defenses are just not good at all. So we'll talk about gameplay in a minute, but basically they just blow through your walls as if they were made out of butter, and it's annoying. So this kind of starts with, like I said, the Battle of Hastings, and ends with when England kind of became a definitively separate country from France. The 100 Years' War is the most, I guess, like the previous one. But even so, they only did 2 Joan of Arc missions, which I think is pretty cool. So they had the Trial of the 30, so the first phase of the 100 Years' War, I guess. They have the Siege of Paris, which is cool. Some stuff from the Intermediary, because if I recall, the Joan of Arc campaign only covered Joan of Arc, but she is only in 2 missions, so it covers more of it. So that's cool. The Mongol Empire is pretty similar. The missions are very different, though. The Mongol missions tend to be... There's a lot of them that I guess you could call... I call them commando missions, where you don't have a town, and you might get some buildings to build some stuff, and you might be able to get resources. But a lot of them work like that. And the Mongols have a completely different play style than any other faction. So their campaign's pretty fun. So yeah, so it's in 3 parts. There's kind of the traditional Mongol campaign where you invade China. There is the invasion of Russia, which is pretty fun. I think the most fun and original part, though, of it is the part 3, where all 3 missions really come together pretty well. Where the idea is you're trying to take the capital, I think, of the Songs dynasty is these 2 cities that are across the river from each other and joined by a bridge that makes it really hard to siege. So the first one, I think you have to try to assault it, and it doesn't work. So then the next mission is a defense mission from the Mongol perspective, So for that, they give you Chinese units. So you have these kind of a couple missions where you have a combined Chinese-Mongol army, because the Mongols don't get things like walls or fortifications. And then the last level is actually a lot of fun because you get like a super trebuchet, and you have to try to attack this just massive two-part city, and it's very easy for your whole army to get wiped out by the wall defenses. So it's a good campaign. So I'd say of these, the Mongols are probably the second best. Russia is the best campaign. It's the rise of Muscovy. So there's just a really, once again, a really good mixture of different stuff. Like you have the first being sacked by the Mongols. The whole campaign is basically from you first getting sacked by the Mongols to the final destruction of the Golden Horde at the Battle of Kazan. So in between, you have like a mission where you're a tributary to the Golden Horde. You have a couple where you get to like buy up neighboring towns. There's the Siege of Moscow. Sorry, the Siege of, is it Moscow or Novgorod? Yeah, the Siege of Moscow, which you are destined to lose because historically the Rus lost that one, but you get to do kind of a see how long you can endure thing. So I think I'll show you an example of a mission. We'll see. Restart mission at intermediate. Okay, sorry, this was the only other mission I had to play on easy. There's 2 missions in the game. So this is what they put in place instead of the like campy stuff. Is this like BBC style documentary?
Defeated the Mongols for the first time.
Where they'll have like some filmed footage, they'll have stuff like this, where it'll be like the
in the rise of Moscow as the future capital
the
of
modern,
Russia.
they'll superimpose like animated stuff over the modern battlefield.
For the first time, rival principalities had joined Moscow to fight a common enemy.
So, I mean, as far as being like a historical thing, it's not bad. Like, it's not a bad documentary style thing. It's not poorly made. Like, it's definitely like a very professional, like I said, BBC-esque thing. I don't really like it though, because to me, when I think of Age of Empires, I think of like just the cheesy, over-the-top shit that you get during the original Age of Empires 2. But I guess it does a good job of, I don't know, explain the historical background. So this is what a typical mission looks like. I'm not going to do the whole mission. I'm just going to show you the basic gameplay. We'll see if I get killed. One of my big complaints... Okay, so I have a couple complaints. Actually, I haven't really said what I thought of the game yet, but we'll get into that. So, my biggest 2 complaints off the bat is WASD doesn't control the camera, which is a standard in pretty much every modern game. Even like modern Total War games have that. It's just kind of been a thing in RTS since World in Conflict. So there's no that, and then there's no pause button. You can pause the game by going, like, opening the menu. But I think it would have been really nice in single player if you could pause and then give orders and then unpause. Maybe I'm just spoiled by playing Paradox games, but in some of these missions, there's just so much shit going on, especially at the beginning where there's like a countdown, and it would be nice to just be able to halt for a second and take stock of like what you're even dealing with. But you can't do that. So those are 2 things that really irritate me. I know neither of those were in previous games, but I feel like if you're going to do these like cinematic missions, you could at least have that. Also, the load time is really not good. So the graphics, I think, have gotten better with patches. I call it Age of Empires 2, which with Age of Empires 3 characteristics. So I don't think the
Muscovites had
units look
already faced many
great
Mongol attacks on
or
their city
look bad.
and knew the horde
I
would
think they
arrive
look
in vast
okay.
numbers.
I think the
The race to fortify
buildings
Moscow
look pretty
began.
good, though. Honestly, a lot of this stuff looks pretty good. Like, something I kind of like is they added descriptions in for everything, so you can go, okay, that's what that is. Relatively strong defensive gate. Under your units now, it'll say, like, okay, so man-at-arms, heavy armor, good against armored units. Russia gets warrior monks, which is really based. You have villagers, of course. So a lot of it's similar to Age of Empires 2. So you have your barracks, you have your archery range, and you have your stable. So it's a bit in between, I guess, 2 and 3. So most factions will get spearmen and then either men-at-arms or palace guards. So basically light and heavy infantry. I guess that's how it worked at Age of Empires 2, where you had like men-at-arms, swordsmen, two-handed swordsmen, champions, and then pikemen. So the pikemen are kind of your basic one that just take food and wood but don't require gold, and men-at-arms require gold. Then for the archery range, as Moscow, at this point there's basic archers, then there's crossbowmen, then you also will get later on, Muscovy gets musketeers. I can't pronounce it, whatever the Russian word is for the like special militias. So how unique units work in this game is your unique unit just replaces a standard unit. It's not built at a castle or anything. So for the English, instead of archer, they have longbowmen. And the French, instead of crossbowmen, they have abelisks, or whatever the fancy crossbow is. The French also will, instead of have knights, have royal knights, which are kind of like their better version of it. So there's a couple different tech trees,
prepared the city's defenses,
depending on which cultural group
from
you
nearby
are.
towns flooded into Moscow.
There's like a
Desperate
Western
seeking
European
refuge from the
one
rapidly
that
approaching Mongol
England,
army.
France, and the Holy Roman Empire get, which are all pretty similar. Then there's the Eastern one. Although the Mongols and the Chinese are extremely different in terms of their play style, they both have some Eastern characteristics. Like, they will both get lancers instead of knights. Although the Mongols will get horse archers. That's kind of a cool thing about Russia, is they get both knights and horse archers. The Mongols get a special horse archer, but you kind of get the idea. But then a lot of it's like traditional Age of Empires. You have the blacksmith, you have... Let me select the peasant. You have a market, town center. Instead of castles, you have keeps, monastery, siege workshop. They added arsenal, which is, I guess, the new building. It builds improvements to range units and siege engines. There is university, but not in this mission.
They would wait out the Mongol assault behind Moscow.
The walls are not very good. So one of the things they made... Okay, so there's actual siege units, which I can't build at the moment. So that would be like catapults. You have giant like ballistas, trebuchets, cannons, that kind of thing. But infantry units can also build siege weapons in the field. So they can build battering rams and siege towers wherever they want. And they can garrison them. The issue is they have a lot of health and a lot of armor. And they're very inexpensive to build. Let me see how much they cost. Okay, 350 sounds like a lot, but it really isn't for what you get. So this one battering ram can easily go through walls, even if the walls have defenses, because their piercing armor is so high and their health is so high. This can just, one ram can just go through like all of this, and then go in and destroy that. And the enemy will just spam them, and there's really nothing you can do about it other than sally out. And it just makes walls complete, like, crap. What's kind of cool is you can put units up on walls, but I don't think it actually gives them an armor bonus, so there's not really much of a point to it.
To hold their ground.
It just kind of sucks. Like, you can build towers on your stone walls, but the towers on the stone walls also suck, because, like, it's out in front. The enemy can attack it first, so what's even the point? But yeah, that's the issue, is just walls are shit. And that is the biggest single problem with this. Also, if you build fortresses or whatever, you have to upgrade the fortresses you build don't come with arrow slits. You have to, like, manually upgrade them. Rus like, gets the best defensive structures, I think, in the game, because they get wooden fortresses instead of watchtowers. But even then, it's just not very good. They brought back the, whatever they're called, the torches, so they can pretty easily, like, look how quick they're just burning through this wall, like it was paper. I'm just going to let this run for a bit, and maybe we'll see them build a ram and just go all the way through it. But yeah, and then there's still the ages. How you age up in this game is you build a wonder in each age, or they call the landmark. So each landmark has specific abilities to it. So, like, here you have the Abbey of the Trinity, which halves the cost of warrior monks. It has some unique technologies. And this one gives you increased gold production. The Rus have a really overpowered building called the Hunting Lodge that generates gold from being near trees. So, like, this one is generating 22 gold a minute. What's kind of cool is it gives you an estimate of how much you're making, which is kind of nice. So it'll tell you, like, all of your farms together are making this much, or all of your forests together are making this much. I'm just waiting to see if the Mongols will... I guess they probably aren't going to do rams until a bit later in the game. But, yeah, overall, this was a pretty good level. Once again, it irritates me because I want walls to be good. I want you to be able to... I'll try loading another level, and maybe I'll show you what I mean. I'll try loading Dover, maybe. But, like, I want walls to be good. I get that they can't have it, so they're completely unbeatable, and it would just get really boring and really obnoxious if you let it go on for too long. But I think there needs to be some balance between them being basically wet cardboard and them being, like, just completely overpowered. And this game doesn't do a good job, and it's too bad because I like a lot of aspects of this game. Campaign is very solid. They put a lot more effort into it than I thought they were going to put into it. The factions are very different. So I think at the moment there is France, the Holy Roman Empire, England, the Abbasid Caliphate, the Delhi Sultanate, Mongolia, Russia, and China. I think there's only 8 factions at the moment, which I'm okay with. I'd rather they do a fewer number and try to balance them than just have a billion of them. I think they're reasonably well balanced at the moment. China is completely different from any other faction. I don't even really get what they're supposed to be. Mongolia, I think, is my favorite. Because Mongolia doesn't have walls, but they get a whole bunch of other bonuses to make up for the fact that they don't get walls. Which is nice. Because walls suck in this game, so... Yeah, so, like, here we go. Here's an example of a mission where... although I've built defenses here, so it's not going to be as bad as you might think. But as you can see, this one battering ram is blowing through my walls single-handedly, despite my fully garrisoned castle. Oh, my castle won't even... I can't even make my castle shoot it. It's just automatically shooting at the other units. But yeah, it's just kind of blowing through it like it's paper. I was fortunate enough to have some horsemen over there. But yeah, like as you can see, they're just spamming the... what's it called? Battering rams. From all sides at once. In the English, just have like a massive number of guys in this.
The walls of Paris had been
so yeah, completely just destroyed my entire wall in about a minute.
So long as its mighty landmarks did not.
And I guess you could say, well, Argent, you're supposed to sally out and fight them. But once again, it's like, look at how many like additional units they get compared to you. It's a little ridiculous. It's not like impossible or anything. I just find it very frustrating, and I find it kind of detracts from the gameplay. So I do think walls should be good, but they just aren't at all. They just suck, and your walls are on fire. How a stone wall can be on fire, I'm not really sure. I guess maybe because there's a little bit of wood there or something. So yeah, that just collapses. That's completely fucked. Fortunately, in this one, I had set up a bunch of keeps. Keeps are actually good. Outposts are completely worthless. Because, like, let me build an outpost. Like, one of the things with outposts is that when you build them... yeah, here we go. We're going to come in with mangonels. I mean, look at how low the, like, fire rate is. Like, it's just not... Age of Empires 2 castles, these are not. They're just kind of suck. Yeah, like, so when you build an outpost, it doesn't have any defensive things automatically. You have to, like, go in and manually upgrade them.
Ever more desperate as their ranks thinned and their hopes of victory faded.
Now, I'm fortunate here but yeah, like I said, one ram is going to destroy this entire castle by itself, I think. Or maybe it won't, but like I said, I don't know. For a unit that can just be produced in the field so easily, I think they're too good. I think they're overpowered. One kind of cool thing with knights and horsemen is horsemen get a charge bonus now. So when they charge into combat, they get a little bonus right away. Particularly, I think heavy cavalry do. Royal Knights get a big one. I think Royal Knights also get a technology that makes them regenerate themselves. But yeah, so France gets their own unique infantry with Pavise shields. So as you can see, it just replaces the crossbowmen there. If I go here, we have Royal Knights instead. And yeah, I think that's pretty much the basics of Age of Empires 4. Some of these... I'm trying to think. One of these is a special one. Some of the Age Up wonders can be really good. Like this one is the Red Palace. So this comes with as a keep fully upgraded, so you can use that for defensive purposes. Okay, and here they go. They came with trebuchets, so they're just gonna melt it. I don't mind trebuchets melting the wall quite as much because they're at least an endgame unit. My issue is more when like battering rams go through your walls like butter. So, but as you can see, like, it's, I don't know, base defenses aren't very good in this game. Another issue I have, and this actually really irritated me, is units are produced so slow in this game. Like, it's unbelievable how slow they're built. So, like, in some campaign missions, I would have 4 or 5 copies of a building going. And, like, okay, so to build an archer is 15 seconds. That's really long. Like, Maybe the times was the same amount of time in Age of Empires 2. I feel like it wasn't. I feel like this is way slower. And that's just kind of how long it can take to produce units, and you'll just kind of are left waiting. And it's part of the difficulty is just because the enemy spawns in waves. So you can very easily just get overwhelmed if you use up all your troops to defeat a particular wave. Then when their wave shows up, you're just fucked, and there's basically nothing you can do. Like, it's not super hard, I just find it kind of, like, lame. And not very well balanced. I think if they, like, have the damage that Rams did, and increase the damage that, like, Castles did, I think that would help the game out a lot, but... Like, let me see here. Even if you attack them with units, like, it's taking quite a while to destroy it, given the number of guys I have attacking just one of them. And in the time you're doing that, they'll just go through and destroy your buildings, and there's not a lot you can do about it. So I think those are my big issues. Overall, I think it's a really good game. It's just they have to do something about the balance between siege weapons and defenses. Because it's better than Age of Empires 3, but they just suck. They just suck, and they're pretty worthless. But overall, I think it's a good game. You can get it for $1 currently on Game Pass. Because it's a Game Pass featured game. So if you just want to play it, $1, you can download it, play all the campaigns, and then cancel before you have to pay the renewal fee. Even if you have to renew it for a month, who cares? It's like an $80 game you're getting for like $10 in that case. Or get it when it comes out on sale. Or if you think you're going to play it a lot online, then go ahead and get it. I think it's a pretty good game. I'd probably give it an 8 out of 10. Age of Empires 4 is okay in my books.